Nico.
Stylianos.
The platform is yours. I like this expression, and I use it too often.
Well, in a project on platformization, this gets too easy. Well, thanks for that last session. I think this was good. We had some problems getting the question from people into the discussion because we couldn't see them. So I was trying to get them answered. Apparently, I had better access to the others.
The only comments we saw it was yours.
I was posting them from other people.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's a great introduction on platformization and how European dialogues and these platforms work together, not just in giving people a voice, but also in silencing them. But at least we unsilenced them for a second. Anyway, thanks for this wonderful last panel. And maybe I'll start with just a few reflections and you can take over. Is that okay?
Yes, fine.
Because I don't think we need to take forever. It's been a long day.
People get tired, actually.
And these kinds of platforms are cruel. So maybe just a few reflections. I think one of the things that for me was important that it was emphasized is that Europe is a construction. It's an idea. And it's not only infrastructures, it's not only companies, it's not only the state. It is also an idea. But it's highly sophisticated in how this idea is entangled with these infrastructures. And that was one of the reasons I was really fascinated by Paolo's very short discussion of these European similarities and differences. And I think that was a crucial part in his talk when he was saying, yep, there are things we share. We come from a background, a context of particular forms of regulation, state regulation. We come from a whole ideology of a welfare state. Public broadcasting plays a vital role. And I mean, I would argue these are the things, the similarities that construct that Europe, that make Europe as a imaginary geography that actually make it European. So I think that was one of the really important components in that discussion. I do think that it is an incredibly complicated discussion because there are so many differences within a European context. And again, this discussion on, well, we tend to focus on these differences and we tend to forget the similarities. We tend to forget to see that across the different media systems, there is actually something European in there, which intersects in an imperfect way with that diversity that also characterizes Europe. So that was one idea that I think came out really nicely. I think the second idea, and that was very much part of how we build this conference, the need for interdisciplinarity to deal with this complexity. We had quite a number of more political studies and new social movement approaches. We also had a strong emphasis on the historical dimension. And I think this was vital in understanding, again, the logics of this interconnection between Europe and media. I think what Donald brought in was vital, bringing in this bird's eye perspective, deeply rooted historical perspective about how, for instance, globalization, industrialization, but also capital and capitalism functions. And it does raise the question whether capitalism is a defining characteristic of Europe as one of the cradles, actually the cradle of the capitalist ideology? Is this also what makes us European? And is there a European capitalism? I think these questions came up for me out of this historical analysis, because of course what Donald was emphasizing was always this the role of the nation state, which was of course in the 19th century where he was very much focusing on, was absolutely vital. And that again raises the question, is there something deeply European, or is this just a conflation of nation states that accidentally find themselves on the same continent? And I think that this interdisciplinarity is vital in trying to unpack that. And the last thing I wanted to say is, I think what we also witnessed in all these different talks is these many different struggles over Europe, over what is European, over what are good media. And these are deeply political struggles. And I think that, for me, I think it's extremely important to emphasize that these struggles create a degree of contingency. There is not one model, there is not one Europe, there is not one perfect media system, there is not one history even. And this diversity and struggle over these different ways of thinking, but also different practices, was also, I think, very nice. So these were the three things I wanted to interject into this conclusion. These were the things that fascinated me. There's just one little footnote. I really love the discussion on Erasmus babies, because that's where it gets deeply material to, and that's where actually also our role as an academic system in the European context becomes very visible. It allows me also to emphasize that we as academics, we are part of this construction of Europe. If we do research on the European public sphere, we're putting that notion on the agenda. Even if we argue that it doesn't exist, it still creates this idea that the European public sphere and that Europeanness matters. And in that, we become actors in this political struggle, in this game of construction that I think also came out of these sessions quite nicely. So these are my closing remarks. So Stelios, all yours. The platform has been
Come back
bounced
to me.
to
Come
you.
back to me. Come back to me.
Always.
Well, I don't have too many things to say. No, I believe that Hallis and Mancini's model comparing. Nico, is it possible to switch off your
Yep. Muting.
Okay, thank you very much. Because I was hearing my voice again. That the model is still an important tool for comparative media systems analysis. Of course, as things have changed, but it depends on the point of view and how you want to approach. Certainly, the technology critical juncture, as Paolo has told us, leads to a revised understanding of the four-dimension analytical approach that we initially had in our project, and the ones that was proposed by Halid and Mancini. They also have placed the development of the print press at the center of the media market analysis, but now they also try to identify alternative patterns of news consumption diet, comparing newspapers and TV news. The second thing that they also noticed from the discussion was, I was surprised with the polarized pluralism in the United States, for example, and the polarization. Of course, Dan said that this may be may change in the years to come, but we also see the sense and the concept of the political parallelism to be important. Paolo noticed in his talk, he's spoken about organized parties, mass parties, as he said, in Europe, that they, and I agree with this, that still affect the media systems, and of course the role of the state is still, I think, important, or has become important. The welfare state, democracy plays a very important role, at least in Europe, and this is the reason that we also, in my understanding, this is also related to the existence of the public service broadcasting in Europe that makes the European systems so distinct to other countries. So, of course, we have differences, as they also said, but things change in the level of professionalism. Things have changed a lot, and this is due to the introduction of the new technologies and the digitalization of the media systems. And I think, personally, I believe that and I think they also said the same, that the absence of journalistic professionalism paves the way for the instrumentalization of journalists by economic and political interests, which in turn harms credibility. So I don't want to still to repeat what we have just said before, and I know that you are all tired, but I think that eventually, and Nico agrees with me, and I believe that the analysis initiated by Hallin and Mancini 17 years or 20 years ago, when it started, is still relevant, of course, under new perspectives. We are similar and we are dissimilar. And this is, in my understanding, that makes distinct the so-called the European Union. We are similar in our dissimilarity, if I can put it this way. And with this, I'd like to thank you for being with us. The problem is that I don't see you at all. I only see Nico. He's a very nice guy, but I don't see anyone else. So there is no kind of interactivity between us and among us. And I believe that we agree with me that it's time to end this conference. I hope that we learn something, and there is plenty of food of thought for our project. Thank you very much.
And also Nico, for me, very quickly, because I only see Stylianos as also a very nice guy, by the way. But a quick thank you to Andrea and Marta, but also Emanuele, who's been helping us with the technology. But Andrea and Marta, who have been doing a lot of work in setting up this conference. So thank you, guys. And I think we should close down our streaming. Thanks all for being with us. Thanks for being patient, and thanks for listening to, I think, these wonderful voices.
And let's hope see each other in Milan in September, just to make the bridge, you know, with.
Exactly. Okay. It will be much more fun than just looking at the computer.
Okay. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.